Hey, everybody. Okay, good. Just making sure the mic's on. Hi, I'm Nathan Smith, and I am the Digital Programming Coordinator here at the Central Arkansas Library System. Thank you all so much for joining me for this class, which is Adobe Acrobat for your small business. Even if you don't have a small business, I think you're going to find this useful and relevant, and I hope you enjoy it. As always, there are a couple of quick preliminary things to get out of the way here before we get started. First of all, if you do want to follow along live, you're welcome to just watch. But if you do want to follow along live, you're welcome to. You can download the example files that we're going to be using today at the link that I put in the chat there, and that is cals.link/acrobat files. So if you're on YouTube or Facebook, you should see that in the chat or the comments. And if you're here on Zoom, you should see it in the chat if you go down and click on the little chat speech bubble there. So feel free to download those example files and follow along if you want to, or you can just watch, and that's totally fine too. Example files. Next thing to say is, of course, we have lots of great events coming up here at CALS. Most things are still virtual for obvious reasons, so it's easy to access a lot of stuff that we have going on. If you want to find out what exactly we're doing, head to cals.org, move your mouse over events, click on find an event online, or if you're looking for other technology classes, click on technology classes, and you should be able to see a lot of great stuff that we have coming. There's an event with Roxanne Gay toward the end of the month. There are all sorts of author discussions and things about history, things about genealogy, things about it's Earth Month, so there's all sorts of great programming coming up related to that. So just go nuts, join us for any and all of that stuff, and we'll be happy to have you. Okay, so couple of other things to say. If at any point, okay, let's see. So somebody looks like might have come in after the link got pasted in there. Let me pop it in the Zoom chat one more time. Okay, cool. So if you, well, let me double check and make sure that's working. Yes, indeed. Yeah, you should see a link there that says acrobatexamples.zip, and when you click on that, that will actually download the files for you. At any point during the class, if you have questions, please speak up and let me know. Don't worry about whether it's a silly question or too easy or anything like that. My job here is not to judge whether questions are easy or hard or should be asked or not be asked. My job is to help you learn useful things about technology. So if you're learning useful things about technology, then class is going great. Even if I'm not hitting all the points on my outline, if we're covering the stuff that's helpful to you, then that's a successful class. On the other hand, if I'm following my outline and dotting every I and crossing every T, but what I'm saying doesn't make any sense to you, then our class is not a success, and we might as well just all log off right now because it's not doing anybody any good. So if you have questions at any point, please ask them. I'm not, not offended by, interruptions. Don't worry about that. Just go ahead and get those questions out there. That way they can get addressed, and we can make sure that everybody's tracking with what's happening in the class, and that things are going well. So, so ask those questions. If you're here in Zoom with me, the easiest way to do that, of course, is in the chat. Head down to the little chat speech bubble down at the bottom. if you're on a computer, click on that and it should slide out the little chat panel for you, and you can just type your question in and press enter. If you are on a mobile device and you're watching in Zoom, you can access the chat there as well. You might need to tap in the middle of the screen to, oh, you know what? That was my fault. I put the link in the chat, but did not send it out to everybody. I just sent it to me. So there we go. Now we're good. All right. So, so yeah, if you're on a mobile device, tap the middle of the screen. You probably won't see chat there right away. You'll probably need to tap a little button that says more, and then in the menu that pops up, tap chat in there, and that should give you the little chat area where you should be able to type in your questions. So, so please do that there if you're on Zoom on a mobile device. If you're watching via Facebook or YouTube, on Facebook, type it into the comments underneath the post, and I should see it fairly quickly. I've got a little chat program up that will show me those messages in the comments. And if you are on YouTube, what you'll want to do is open up the just click in the live chat out to the side there and type your questions in there. So any of that works, let me know. Lastly, and I thank the folks who have already done this, let me know if there are any technical difficulties, if I'm describing something on the screen that you're not seeing, or if my camera goes out and I haven't said, I'm turning my camera off now, or if my microphone goes out and it looks like I'm still talking, then let me know, please. Don't hesitate. Let me know right away. That way we can make sure that we're maximizing our class time and you're able to get the most out of this session. Folks in the chat who are having trouble accessing the example files, were y'all able to get there? Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Thanks for letting me know. You know, we're all human, so so it's good to know when there's a problem, so that way we can resolve it. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do now is, well, basically, let's see. I'm going to drop this here. So really quick, what I'm going to do now that everybody has the example files, I am going to put them, I'm going to unzip them onto my desktop. Let me go ahead and fire up the screen share really quick so y'all can follow along with that bit. All right, there it is, Acrobat examples.zip. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to extract all. I'll just put it on the desktop to make it convenient. And there it is. I should have 3 Word files right here. And there we have it. Okay, great. So let's see. Now that I've got that unzipped, I'm going to go ahead and switch on over to Acrobat so we can dive into that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit of background about Acrobat. And then we'll talk about, and then we'll talk about some of the specifics of using it and so forth. We're going to run through a few examples here. We're going to talk about just viewing a PDF file in Acrobat and how all of that works, because it's fairly easy. We're also going to talk about converting a Word document into a PDF. We're going to talk about importing and cleaning up a scanned document, and we're going to talk about making a PDF form. So PDF stands for Portable Document Format. By the way, I saw just yesterday one of the creators of PDFs back in, I want to say the 80s or early 90s, passed away. So We salute you, sir, for making something that we use every day. So the idea behind a PDF is basically, if you've ever tried to send a Word document to someone, you know that sometimes that can kind of be a problem. And the reason for that is pretty simply that well, it's just the way that things like a Word document are designed. So with Word documents, they're set up so that you can use, you can use special fonts. You can use different colors and font sizes. You can insert text boxes. You can add images and all of that stuff. But depending on how you do it, that stuff may or may not translate to someone else when you send them the file. For example, if they don't have the same fonts installed on their computer that you do on yours, and you happen to use a font that's on your computer but not theirs, your document's not going to look the same. It's not going to render with the same font because your computer doesn't have access to it. The only thing, inside of that Word document, there's a little, it'll kind of say like, this in this paragraph, it uses this font. And if if the other person's computer doesn't have it, they'll be like, well, I don't have that one, so I guess I'll just use this generic one. And things like layout can be tricky as well, particularly between different versions of the program. So if you've got an older version of Word and you sent something to someone that has a newer version of Word, then you might end up with a problem. Let's see. Let me go ahead and switch screen shares while I'm talking about this. So basically, so essentially you can end up with a situation where where the document you created is not the document the other person receives. And also, a lot of times, with the way that, Microsoft Office has moved to a more subscription-based model and things like that, if somebody's just buying, if somebody just has a computer for their own personal use or, things like that, they may or may not have Microsoft Word on there at all. Or if they're using a mobile device, it might cause a problem. And so and then there are other sort of formats for different programs and stuff. So there are a lot of things that can go wrong between you creating a document and the person who's ultimately trying to view it, where they may or may not end up seeing the thing that you created. So PDF documents are meant to solve that problem. Instead of having instead of just saying, okay, use this font here, or there's an image over here, or whatever. With a PDF document, you will actually have, or it actually will include the font inside of it if it's, if it uses that font. And everything will look exactly the same in terms of layout and stuff like that. So, so basically, the document you design is the document the other person receives when you send it to them. And it has some security things. It's a lot harder to change a PDF file than it is to modify something like a Word document. And it's a lot easier to, you can do things like there's a whole like signing process that Adobe's created now and all sorts of things. So whenever so PDFs are really good for documents where you want it to look exactly the same, regardless of whether you're looking at it on your phone or a tablet or an e-reader or your computer or whatever, and whether it's a Mac or a PC or a Chromebook or what have you. And so that's really, really handy. Acrobat is the program that's designed primarily to deal with PDF files. So and especially to sort of create and modify them. A lot of programs can create a PDF file, and a lot of programs can view it. But Acrobat actually allows you to make changes to one and to customize it a lot more thoroughly the way you want it to be. And it's kind of the original one. Adobe created the PDF format, decades ago, and they're the ones who maintain it. But of course, a lot of us use it in a lot of different things. Okay, so first, I just want to talk about sort of navigation. So I'm going to open, it occurs to me I forgot to include an additional PDF, that was pre-made with the thing. But if you have Acrobat on your computer, hopefully you've already opened at least one PDF file, or you can probably find one on your computer. If you go down to the bottom of your screen and type PDF in there, guarantee you there are plenty on your hard drive. I'm just going to open up this old class calendar right here, and we're going to talk about navigating it. We're going to talk about navigating in a PDF file here. So I double clicked on it to open up this particular document. Let's take a look at it and see what we got. Okay, so at the very top we have a little just a few basic menus up here. There are some of these that we're going to dig into a little bit more as we move on. But basically there's File, Edit, View, Sign, Window, and Help. If you're working on a Mac, obviously this is going to be at the top on the little top menu bar that has the little Apple logo at the top left there. Underneath that, we've got this Home and these Home and Tools tabs. The Home tab, if I click on that, takes me back to this starting screen where I was initially. The Tools tab right here takes me to this whole crazy list of tools. There's a lot of stuff going on here, most of which we won't really dig into. Not that it's not useful, but we don't have 6 years for this class. So we're going to dig into the stuff that I think is most important and most useful, and kind of give you a framework for knowing your way around the program so that you can sort of then experiment a little bit more on your own. Ultimately, I always tell people, technology classes, obviously, I think they're important and I believe in them. This is what I do. But at the end of the day, one of the most important effective ways that you can learn about technology is just to play around with it, because there's no way that any class could teach you every single thing that you need to know about using the technology that that you need to use in your day-to-day life. And so if you have experience and if you played around with it a little bit, you're going to learn a lot more than someone who comes to every one of my classes even, but doesn't use a computer outside of that. At the end of the day, practice and experimentation are the best teachers with technology. Once you have a little bit of a start. So we've got all our tools here, and we'll talk about some of these as we move on. If I click back over here, I can switch back to the PDF document that I'm looking at. And we've got a bunch of different tools here at the top in this sort of toolbar. So we have the ability to star this file, which basically means over here on the Home tab, we would see this pop up and it would be easily accessible to me without me having to really dig for it. So that could be handy if there's a document that I return to frequently for reference purposes or whatever. There's a little cloud here with an up arrow, assuming, which you probably do, but assuming that you have an Adobe account, you can use this to save a file to the Adobe document cloud, and as it says, access it from multiple devices. In other words, anywhere that you can sign into your Adobe account, you can basically view this file. So if it's something you need a lot, you know, that you might need access to on your phone, and also you might need access to it on your computer, or you might need access to it on multiple computers, that might be a useful thing. Here, there's a print file button. If you were to click on that, then obviously you would get options for printing this file. We're not going to dig into that because printing is not a terribly useful thing to demonstrate on a video-based in a video-based class situation. But I'm sure you printed stuff before, so we're not going to really spend much time on that. And then I have the ability to find text inside my document by clicking this little magnifying glass. If I click there, then apparently it's going to glitch out on me. There we go. Okay, so it gives me this little find box, and I could type in, say, I don't know, Excel. There we go. And now it finds all the instances of the word Excel, and I can just click next, next, next to see all of them in the document. I can also, if I'm editing, replace a word with something else, but that can be a little trickier. I am going to click close over here, so that way I'm not making edits just yet. Over here, some more navigation tools. So we have these up and down arrows. Those allow us to go from page to page. We have this little selection tool right here, where I can just click on something and it will it'll highlight it like so. We have the hand or pan tool right here. If I click on this, the little hand, what it'll do is allow me to, well, it's not going to do it unless I'm zoomed in a little. Let me go ahead and zoom in. So I'll use this plus button here to zoom in a bit. And then with the hand tool, I can hold down with the mouse button. The hand kind of grabs, and then I can use that to drag around so that I get to where I need to be. If I go down, it actually will scroll up a little bit. Because basically, well, it's pretty similar to how you would do it on your phone. If I hit the minus button here, obviously I can zoom out. I can set an exact level of zoom. So right now I'm seeing this document at 87.4%. That's very specific. If I want to go to 100%, I'll just click there and type it in, press enter, and it goes to 100% zoom level. Or I can click the down, or the drop down arrow here, and I can zoom to just any zoom level that my little heart desires. Wow, 6,400, huh? Crazy. All right, yeah, there we go. Wow, I probably was in the middle of the A or something. Anyway, so here under more tools, I can change some other things. I can do fit to width scrolling. So I can basically, it will fill up the maximum amount of horizontal space that I have available, regardless of the vertical. I have fit one full page, which is kind of the other way to do it. If you do that, you can see the whole page like this. And then as I'm scrolling up and down, rather than there being a little gap between these, as I scroll up, and I could see like the bottom of the first page and the top of the second page, this actually just, when I scroll up, it just moves to the next page, and the next page fills up the whole screen. Or I can go to this read mode, where it kind of gets a lot of the stuff out of the way, and sort of narrows sort of makes my view a little less encumbered. I'm going to click on read mode again to get out of there. So I'll go to, you go to view and then read mode to get back out. Down here, we've got a way to move some of these controls out of the toolbar. I'm not going to do that right now because it'd just be a little more confusing. And we'll talk about some of these tools a little bit later on, but we're not going to focus so much on that. Okay, so let's add another tool to this toolbar that might be useful to us. What I'm going to do is go up to the top, click on View, and head down here under Tools. Or no, excuse me. Show Hide is where I meant to go. And then I'll go Toolbar Items. And then Show Select and Zoom Tools. And I'm going to come down here and choose Marquee Zoom. When I click on that, you'll notice I get another button here, Marquee Zoom, which is a little magnifying glass with this dotted square next to it. When I click on that, I can zoom into a particular portion of the page just by dragging a box around it. So I've got the little magnifying glass with the plus sign. Let's say I want to zoom in on this Thursday right here. I'll hold down on my mouse button, drag a little box around that area, let go, and now that area is what I see in my view. So that can be really helpful because then you can zoom to exactly the spot that you want to be in rather than having to like zoom, reposition, zoom, reposition, zoom, reposition over and over again. Pretty handy. All right. Okay. Other things to look at. Over here on the left, we have some additional tools. So right here, if I click on these two little pages, this says page thumbnails. And what that's going to give me is this little sorter where I can see where I could see a little preview of each page and click from page to page there. By the way, because of the way I generated this document, it shows that this is page 3 and this is page 4, even though there's only 2 pages here. Don't worry about that so much, but I just thought I'd mention it since otherwise it might seem like a little weird, like something was missing. It's not. I created a single file that had a black and white version of this and a color version of this, and the color pages were pages 1 and 2, and the black and white version was pages 3 and 4. So that's why it's showing that. Over here on the left, I've got this little bookmark area, so you can mark specific places that you want to remember about in a document with bookmarks. We're not really going to dig into that, but that's an option that's there. And there's even a space for file attachments. So if you want to attach other files into your PDF, you can do that. It's pretty cool. Okay. I'm going to hit the X up here to collapse that back down. Over here on the right-hand side are a bunch of additional tools. Create PDF, combine files, edit PDF. We'll talk about a lot of this stuff later on. Fill and sign, export PDF. A couple of quick things to mention about this. So the fill and sign, if you create a form or if you receive a form from someone and you want to fill it out on your computer, there's your opportunity right there, that fill and sign. You can use that to sort of to fill in sort of blanks on a form, even if it's not designed to be a fillable form, which we're going to create a fillable form a little bit later, and that's very useful. But even if it's not designed to be a fillable form, you can fill it out using that, and you can also digitally sign it with a certain amount of, I don't know, extra legitimacy backup from Adobe. So that's kind of cool. And you've got a whole bunch of other tools here, some of which we'll get to, some of which we won't, but that's okay. All right, so let's, okay. I think I missed something here. No. Okay. That's weird. All right. Well, continuing onward. So I'm going to take so what we want to do, the next thing that we want to do is to talk a little bit about converting a Word document to a PDF, because this is honestly one of the primary ways that you're going to create PDF documents is using other tools like Microsoft Word. So let's walk through that a little bit. You can approach it actually 3 different ways that both sort of have their upsides and downsides, but all of them are worth mentioning. So one way is from inside of Acrobat. If I go over here and I click Create PDF on the right-hand side, it says Create a PDF from any format. Select a file, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to click here where it says Select a file. Then I'm going to head to my desktop, and then Acrobat examples, and then we'll do this chapter1.docx. I'm going to click on that, click open, and then click create. All right, it's going to think about it for a minute. And there we have it. Okay, this is chapter 1 of War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, along with some public domain illustrations of War of the Worlds. I created this as a Word document, which is how I got it to you. But as you can see, honestly, it makes a really good looking PDF. So you can kind of read through and see, I mean, you can read the first chapter of a Victorian sci-fi novel. So there you go. So that is a pretty easy way to do it. Another way that you can do it is to open it up in Word. I'm going to open it up over here in my file browser and just double click on it to get it open in Word. And let me switch over to, I'm going to screen share Word now. There we go. Okay, so now I've got the document open in Word. This is the original Word version. In order to turn it into a PDF here, I have actually 2 different tools. Technically, I have 3 different tools to do this. So there are a lot of different ways to approach this. One of those is I can use the PDF converter that Adobe gives me. So if I go over here to the File tab, click there and click Save as Adobe PDF, which shows up if you have Acrobat, not Acrobat Reader, mind you, but actual Acrobat installed on your computer. If I do that, then it pops up and it asks me where I want to save it. And it does give me a little checkbox for view result and also restrict editing, which I believe, yeah, that'll allow me to put a password on it. So I have, so once I click save, it will create a PDF version of the document, very similar to the way that Acrobat did a moment ago. Another built-in tool that you have, if I click File again and I click on Export, well, I say another built-in tool, that will only work if you have Acrobat installed. Even if you don't have Acrobat installed on your computer, in Word, you'll have this, Create PDF/XPS document, and that'll be the default setting when you click Export over here. You click this button, give it a name, give it a file name, click Save, and then it will export a PDF version of the file. That's built into Word. You don't have to have Acrobat or anything else there to make that happen. And then there's a third way to do it. And this way is honestly pretty cool because it's accessible a lot of different places. So when I click on print here, I can send it to an actual printer like the one outside my office door. I can click the drop down, or I can click the drop down box here and I can select a printer. You'll notice there are two printers that I could use for this potentially. Microsoft Print to PDF. This is actually built into Windows 10. So if you need, so even if you don't have Acrobat or anything else installed on your computer, if you're using Windows 10, this should be a printer option for you. So you click on that, and again, you save your, you give it a file name, pick a folder for it to be in, click save, and then it will create the file and probably open it for you in Acrobat Reader or whatever PDF reading software is the default on your computer. So that's really handy because if you need to create a PDF, Acrobat gives us a lot of really useful tools, but if you need to create a PDF in a pinch, this will totally work. You also have the Adobe PDF printer that Acrobat installs. One tricky thing here, this generally is going to give you a better quality output than using the Microsoft one. One sort of caveat, one thing to bear in mind with that, if I click printer properties here, there's a little checkbox here that says rely on system fonts only. Do not use document fonts. My strong suggestion would be, please, if you're using this Adobe PDF printer, uncheck this box. That way, when you click OK, it will do it. If you leave the box checked, what's going to happen is it's going to create a version of the file that uses fonts that are extremely common, so that way you don't run into potential rendering problems. So most of the time, that's not an issue. The issue is that the document, when it's converted to a different font, it's going to be a different layout than what you originally created. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose of making it a PDF file, or at least some of the purpose. So, so I would definitely recommend making sure that box is unchecked. All right, so anyway, once you choose one of these printers, you click print here. It'll ask you for a name and a folder. And any of these settings that you set here will work for the PDF version of, will work for the ultimate PDF output. So if I change the margins from normal to narrow or whatever, then the PDF version of the file is going to be something more like this, rather than the way that it's saved inside of, inside of the document when I originally opened it. So there are a ton of different ways to make that happen. It's very, very handy. And so I definitely, commend that to you. Okay, so let's talk about bringing in a document and making sort of some changes to it. So I'm going to well, I'm going to switch back to Acrobat here. All right, excellent. Give me just a moment. Let me check one thing really quick here. Weird. Okay, anyway. All right, so we've got this. Let's go ahead and do some, make some changes to it. I'm going to click on Edit PDF over here, and let's play around with it. So when I click Edit PDF, now I do want to mention at this point, it was something that's kind of mentioned on the registration page on the website where you signed up for the class. We are talking specifically about Adobe Acrobat Pro. Adobe Acrobat Pro is paid software, and you either get it as part of a subscription to that specific software or a subscription to the Adobe Creative Cloud suite in general, which has Photoshop and Adobe Premiere and Illustrator and all of those really helpful programs. So if you if you don't have access to that, well, one, if you need access to it at some point, feel free to come up here to the second floor of the main library. We have our creative lab there on the second floor. If you go to the reference area and head to the desk, then you can speak with someone and they can let you in so that you're able to use the software. We have Creative Cloud on the computers there in that lab. So as long as you are using Creative Cloud software, you can work in that little lab area. So definitely recommend doing that if you need access to it, or if you have your own subscription, of course, or if you find you're going to need it a lot, you probably want to get your own subscription so that way you can access it on your devices and you don't have to make it up here to the library when we are open and things like that. So this is Acrobat Pro. If you're using the free Adobe Acrobat Reader, it will look very similar to this, but you will not have this edit PDF option here because that is part of the paid software. So when I click on that, it gives me, you'll see these little kind of dotted line boxes around various pieces of text and images and stuff. That basically tells us, yeah, this is something you can change. So if I click here, you'll notice I have a little cursor here blinking. Sometimes it looks a little off, and this is definitely one of those cases. It seems like it's not quite on the right line, but that's okay. It should still work. If I come up here, I can click and I hit backspace. Sure enough, it'll actually delete that 1, and I can fill in a 2 instead. Great, excellent, awesome. If I come down here, I can click next to the word disillusionment, and I can, fill in something else, the great illusionment. I can change all of my text options over here. So I've got I've got bold, italics, I have underlining, excuse me. After lunch, superscript for things like exponents, or like if you say the 30th of March or something, the little th is in superscript a lot of times, or subscript, which is, far as I know, almost exclusively used in chemistry and math for logarithms. So you've got those, you've got your font size, you've got the name of your font, you've got alignment, like left, center, right, and then justified text. Justified text is actually what we have here. If you look at it, all of the text is lined up with both the left and right hand margins, except for the last line of the paragraph. And that last line kind of hanging there, not being aligned with the end of the last paragraph, or with the right hand border. My goodness, not being aligned with the right hand border makes that text essentially gives you a clue that, oh, this is the end of the paragraph here. And you can change a whole bunch of things about character spacing and paragraph spacing and so forth over there as well. So if I want to do something a little more drastic, I could say come over here to the border of this and I can drag this somewhere else. So I can move this whole box with the text there somewhere else. I'll undo that for now. I can add another text box by clicking add text. So if I click there, come on down and do. There we go. Lovely. I can add an image. I can add a link if I wanted to come over here, for example, and okay. No, this is not what I want. Cool. Yeah, if I click edit there, then I can come in and select something. All right, add edit web or document link. Okay, that's going to give me this. I can select here. Basically, for links in a PDF file, they're not strictly text. They're usually a little box. So it can either be a visible or invisible rectangle, and you can set a style for it. Excuse me. And then you can either link to a page view. So if you set up a specific, if you basically want to let your audience link through to a different part of your your document, you can. You can open a file that's attached, or you can open a web page or create some sort of custom link. Like you could do one of those links that allows you to dial a phone number, that sort of thing. I'll do open a web page, click next, and then I'll put something in here. When I click OK, now this is a link. So when someone opens this and they're just reading the document, they can click on it or double click on it to follow the link and go to the website. I can crop pages if I need to. If there's too much of a margin, I can crop some of that off. Or if there's parts that I don't need, I can insert a header or a footer. I can do a watermark so that the document is marked as specifically mine. I can put my logo there or whatever. Excuse me. Allergies are really, really in full swing right now. You can add a background. You can do numbering, all sorts of things. So that's editing the PDF. If I click close here, my changes are still there. But of course, I do need to come up here and either click this little disk or click on File, Save, or Save As to make the file what I want it to be. When I click Save, since I've just created this, it'll actually trigger the Save As this time. So I'll choose Acrobat Examples, chapter1.pdf. Okay, now it's saved. Let's see. So, so we've got that. Let's go ahead and take a look at another example here. So I'm going to come back up and click Create PDF, select a file. And again, I'm going to go to my examples folder, which you should already be in if you did the first example. And this time I'm going to choose the letter here, letter.docx. Click Open and Create. Okay, cool. So I pull it up, and now we have a letter here. This person, Reginald, is getting a refund. via an electronic transfer. And you'll notice we have some sensitive information here that we might not want to leave if we're sending this. Let's say we were just sending this as a confirmation to someone, or we were submitting it to some outside agency for review or something like that. We probably don't want them to we probably don't want them to be able to see all of that sensitive information. Who else is going to need, Reggie's account number here? So let's go ahead and redact this a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let's see, where is it? There we go. So I'm going to click protect over here and remove hidden information. Wait, no, that's not the thing. Sorry. It's been a while since I've done this class. Okay, cool. All right. Oh. Hang on just a second, y'all. I've apparently my notes are not as extensive as they need to be. It's been a while. Okay. Okay, give me just a minute. I'm so sorry. Okay, there. All right, I knew I was missing something simple. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Over here in the tools, I'm actually just going to search for it. This is a nice feature. So up here at the top where it says search tools, I can click, or I can just start to type redact. And then I can continue to type it until it actually shows up. Redact text and images. There we go. Okay, so all right. So what we're going to do, we're going to come up here where it says redact text and images. Let's go ahead and take this account number out first. So I'm going to select that. And then it gives me a little box around it like so. And then it shows redacted when I move my mouse over it. Once I click apply, it's going to be final. But for now, I can see what's there. Let's go ahead and get rid of this amount. Address probably. And let's do this. No, undo. There we go. Okay, nice. We got all that. And let's get the name of the bank out of there too for good measure. Okay, cool. So we've got that all set. Now I'm going to go ahead and just click apply. This will permanently remove the redacted information from this document. Once you save this document, you won't be able to retrieve it. Your document might contain hidden data and metadata. Do you wish to remove them too? So what it's talking about here, as you're creating the file, your computer will probably save, certain properties in there that might be sort of sensitive information. For example, who created the document specifically. If you are, if you're working in some sort of administrative capacity in a large company, then you might not want all the people who received this document or a variation of this document to see that it was you specifically with your name and everything that created the document. Instead, you want them to see it as sort of kind of generically coming from the company to a certain extent. or it may contain specific information about your computer or, things like that. So you want to make sure that that stuff is there. You also, where it says hidden data, if you used some sort of extra information to create the document, or if as you were creating the document, you went through several different drafts and some of them had, images in them that you didn't end up using or whatever. Some of that stuff, while it may not be specifically, you may not be sort of putting yourself on blast by including it. It might just be useless information, or it might give unwanted insight into sort of the process that was used to create this document. So we have this little slider here that says sanitize and remove hidden information. If I leave that on, then in addition to redacting the information that that it's going to get rid of, it will also remove all that extra stuff that you might not see if you're just looking over the document. I'll click OK. And then basically it's going to give me the option to save it as the redacted version, which is good because I might need the original unredacted version for my records. So I'll hit save. And there we have it. Now this information is gone, gone, gone. So if anyone accesses this PDF, they will not see the amount that was paid to Reginald, nor will they see his who he banks with, what his account number is, or what his order number was. So, or his address. So we did it. We redacted some sensitive information here. So now we're not going to have to worry about that stuff getting out there, even if we have to, even if we have to provide a copy of this to someone else, we can give them the redacted version unless there's some reason they need to see the unredacted one. So that's how you redact something. Pretty useful. Okay. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and get into some creating a form. This is really helpful because, well, a lot of times you'll use forms inside of your, you'll use forms in your organization, or you'll use forms with folks outside of your organization, like order forms and things like that. And when you have something like that, you want to make it nice and uniform. You want to make it easy for you and other staff members to read. So like one of the things, if people are sending for instance, if they're using email to send you if they're using email to send you an order and they're just literally writing you an email and saying, I'd like X number of Y or whatever. Then it can get a little hard to track those things sometimes. I mean, even if you're only doing it by email, you then have to sort of figure out little keywords that might help you pull up each order. And if someone says, I'd like to buy rather than I'm ordering, then if you type the word order in, then that one's not going to come up, even though it is in fact an order. So having a form allows you to standardize. And in fact, when you have a nice form, if 50 forms come into your, to whoever processes your sales for you in a given day, they're going to be able to quickly look at the relevant parts and say, okay, we need to make sure we, that we get X number of widgets from our supplier or whatever. It'll make things a lot easier. And in fact, this would be way beyond the scope of this class, but you can get, excuse me, you can get very, you can get very advanced with this to the point where you can create an order form, people can fill it out, and then there's actually software that will read it for you and turn it into like orders and whatever your processing system might be. So that's pretty cool. So let's make a little form for ourselves. What I'm going to do is come up here once again, click on Create PDF, select a file. And we're going to use this pizza.docx, and I'll click OK. and create. Okay, wonderful. All right, so we've got our form here, application for pizza. If you're interested in having some pizza, please fill out the following application and we'll be in touch. So right now it is a PDF and technically it does have blanks, but it's kind of hard for someone to fill this out. And it's not going to be quite the same as what we could do if we did this in a cleverer way, essentially. So, right now, someone who opens this up could very well fill it out if they wanted to. What they do is click fill and sign here. And then they're basically going to tell Acrobat, and in some cases, it'll actually identify it pretty well. They'll actually tell Acrobat where the blanks are, and they can click on that and they can type something in here. What we want to do, though, to make things a little nicer, more professional looking, and easier, particularly if someone's using software other than Acrobat to fill this out, or Acrobat, or even Acrobat Reader. So we want to put in our own form fields. So that way we can make sure the forms look exactly the same, and we can make it easy on our customers or whoever is going to be filling out the form to get this, to get us the completed one. So here we go. Let's make it happen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on more tools. And that's going to take me over to this tools area right here. What I'm going to do is click prepare form. And then this document does in fact require signatures. I'll click start. Oh, form field auto detection is on. This is very helpful. I'm not going to change that. You could change that if you wanted to place all of your form fields manually, but we only have so much class time today, so we're going to let Acrobat do its best, and then if it goes wrong, then we'll fix it. So I'll click start before creating the form, blah, 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 save, and we'll call this pizza form. Save. Okay, cool. So there we go. Thankfully, so it's giving me some little tool tips here. You can add or new text or edit existing text fields in the form, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, all of that is fine. Okay, so thankfully, Acrobat did a lot of the hard work for us here. It filled in each with a little blue box here: application date, full name, street address, city, state and province, and state or province, and zip code. So, oh, and it got the signature line. Great. So all of these, if our client opens it up, then we will, then they'll be able to, they'll already have these blanks in there, and they won't really need to do much about it. Other than click, and then they can move from field to field by either clicking or even just pressing tab on their keyboard. It's pretty handy. But let's say, well, I'm just going to delete one of these. Let's say that I'm going to come over here. When I click on this zip, you'll notice over here, we have a list of all of our form fields, and that will come in handy a little bit later. And you'll see that that's selected. We also have some other stuff here, alignment options, so you can line up multiple things, which we'll get to in a moment. Centering, match size, distribute, all of that's great, and we'll talk about some of it here in a moment. Okay, I've clicked on the zip code field. I'm just going to press delete, so that way we can get rid of it for the moment and then recreate it for ourselves. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to use the marquee zoom because that will be helpful. And then I'm going to come up here and click on add a text field. When I click on that, then it gives me this little deal right here where I can sort of say, okay, I want it, basically you've got a a placeholder one, and you can position it just the way you want it. So I want it right here on top of this zip code blank. I'll click, and now, lo and behold, we have our form field in the right place. It was better before. Okay. So now if I click on this, I can, select it and I can make some changes. So for example, if I want to, come on, there we go. It's being very finicky. All right. So if I get it to where I have this double-ended arrow with the two lines, I can drag this inward a little bit and make it only as wide as the blank on the form, which makes sense. I can also resize it this way or this way. One thing that I can do though that's pretty helpful is I can select this one, and then by clicking it, hold Shift on my keyboard and click on this one here. Then I can click Match Height right here under Match Size. Nope, that was wrong. Okay, I need to actually select this one and then this one. Now, match height. There we go. So now it's expanded the height of this zip code of the zip code blank to match up with my state and province height. Unfortunately, I moved it down, so I've got to move it back up. But well, actually, there's another way that I can do that. That's a little easier. So I'll hit undo, and again, select this one and then this one. So this one's the second one, or the last one that you select is going to be kind of the template for the other one. So now that I've got them both selected, I can come up here and I can click Align Horizontally. And lo and behold, that lines up this one with the other. So now they're even with each other. And you can center things, either center it vertically on the page, horizontally on the page, or both. And you even have distribute, where you can select, I think you probably have to have 3 or more on there. You can select them so that they're spaced evenly apart, or the centers of those blanks are evenly spaced, just depending. So now we've got our field back. But you'll notice over here it says text to. Actually, in here it does too. I'm going to right click on that and click properties so I can change the settings. Whoops, I still have state and province selected. Let me click that. There we go. Okay, now I can actually click here and I can just rename it zip like so. But I also want to right click on it and look at these properties. If I right click on it and click properties, then I have a bunch of additional options here. I can name it. I can also add a tooltip. So I can say zip code, field type text. I can change this to a lot of different types of fields. So signature, signature block, an initial field, a title field for a person, I'm assuming, a company field, so the name of their company, their name, their email address, so it would specifically limit it to only accepting email addresses, or a date field, which we'll, I think, talk about in a moment. And then you can change who exactly can fill it out. That's probably too much to get into today, but that's something that you can do. You can make it read-only. You can also make it required. You can lock the field so that folks can't make changes even if they have Acrobat Pro. You can change the appearance of the field, so kind of how all of this looks, how it's positioned on the page. And then here under options, you could do things like add a default value, align the text inside the field, and a bunch of other stuff. So I'll go ahead and leave this mostly as is and click close. I'm going to come over here. Where is, let's zoom out. Here we go. Under application date, you'll notice this little icon tells me it's still a text field. So I want to change that one actually too. Right click there, click properties, field type, change it from text to date. And then it went ahead and moved me down to this full name field. So I'm going to click out of that. So now if someone clicks on this, when they're filling it out, they'll actually get the ability, it'll pop up with a little calendar and they can fill it in. And we might want to change some more properties about it. Let's see. When I click properties on it again, appearance, all that's the same, position, options. Nope, okay, I guess not. Cool. All right, coming down here, let's go ahead and add a couple of additional fields as well. So we've got our, so what we have is, we've got this, we have a couple of additional things going on here. So we've got, we have a size selector for the two pizzas, and then we have it says which topping, and we need to be able to fill in what kind of topping we want on our pizza. So I'm going to come up and for the size, obviously we have to choose a size. So we can either do small, medium, or large. I'm going to click on this little we call radio buttons here. And I click on that and bring it down. I can position this right there. Okay, so so it says radio button choice. This is, rather than choice 1, we're going P1 for pizza 1 small, or just SM for small is fine. Okay, cool. All right, so P1 SM. So pizza 1 small. Group name, group 3. I'm going to call this one pizza 1. And then we'll make this a required field because if they're filling out a form to order pizza, then they need to pick at least one pizza to order. Makes sense. So I check the box next to required field, and then I need to click add another button. When I do that, it gives me this again, and I'm going to try and line it up as best I can with the other, but I'm not going to worry about it because I'm going to reposition them here in a moment anyway. So I'm going to call this one P1 MD for medium, and it's still in pizza 1. I'm going to click add another button one more time, come up here next to my large P1 LG. Beautiful. Okay, so we now have our 3 radio buttons right here where we can choose between a small, medium, or large pizza for this, for pizza number 1. I'm going to select all 3 of these by clicking the first one and then holding shift while clicking the other 2. And I'm going to click align horizontally. That way I can make sure they're all in a row like this. Let's try the distribute. I don't think it's going to do what I want it to do, but well, maybe. Okay, cool. All right, that worked. So we now have our pizza buttons, or our little bubbles all set. I might actually make these a little smaller because they look comically large. And I am going to hold shift while I'm resizing so that it resizes them proportionally. Get it in there, line it up. There we go. Okay. So now with these 2, match. Nope. Did it backwards. All right. Now, match size. Come on. It just doesn't like it. Okay. So strange. Anyway, let's not waste a bunch of time on that. All right, so we've got our radio buttons here. So what these do, these little bubbles, if you click on one, it basically it selects one that it selects one for you, or it selects one option and it leaves the other two options blank. So you only get the one option. If you are, and so you end up with, basically you end up with a, you end up having to choose. They're mutually exclusive. Either you want small, you want medium, or you want large. So we've got that. Now we have which topping down here. For that, we're going to use a drop-down selection box here. So I'm going to click up here where it says add a drop-down list and come over here, which topping. We're going to assume for the purpose of this that it's only a one topping pizza. Oh, it says there, so we're good. All right, field name. So we're going to call it toppings. Who needs to sign this field? Anyone? All right, so that's also going to be a required field because we want to make sure we've got that they tell us what they want on our pizza. So now I'm going to click all properties here. And I'm going to go over to options. So under options this time, we've got a slightly different thing because this is a drop-down menu. So what I'm going to do is add items for each one. And I mean, we're going to add items that will allow us to, and then that way they can choose what they want on their pizza. Wow. Okay, things are just going crazy today. My mouse is no longer working, so that's very interesting. All right, okay, up here under item, I'm gonna click on that and we'll do cheese. And let's do pepperoni. Sausage. Let's see. Onion. Beef. And veggie. Okay, cool. All right, we'll go ahead and do sort items. That way we get them in alphabetical order. And we can allow the user to enter custom text, but we only have these toppings available, so we're going to go with this. I'll click close. And now if as the user's filling out the form, they will get those options. Okay, so now we only need a couple more things, and thankfully we can kind of shortcut this a little bit. So you'll notice I've got I have this Pizza 1 group of radio buttons, and of course I need radio buttons just like this for Pizza 2. I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to do create multiple copies. Well, okay, what's going on there? Weird. All right. It looks like that's still selected. I guess not. All right, I'm just going to copy and paste this. So just click on that, click copy, and then we'll paste it. Oh. There we go. All right. For some reason, it wouldn't let me do it up there. I had to do it using Control V, which is the keyboard shortcut for paste. I'm just going to use my arrow keys to move this down, get it kind of lined up. And now I've got all these radio buttons, but these do not need to be in the same group. If these stay in the same group as they are right now, what's going to happen is I'll only be able to choose a size for one of the two pizzas, and that's no good. So I'm going to click on one of these, click on properties, and then yeah, okay. I guess we need to add a radio button for a second here. Okay, there we go. Group name, we're going to call this one Pizza 2. And now that's in place there. Now all we need to do is change the properties for these. Oh, there we go. Oh, man. Okay. Well, I don't know what's going on. Let's see. Wow. Okay. That did not go well at all. Well, I don't know where I went wrong here, y'all. So sorry. Those of you who logged in on Zoom, I'll send you an email afterwards when I figure it out and let you know what's going on. But absolute worst case scenario, I could just recreate this, make it the same size as the other ones, and then everything should be good to go. This one, of course, is going to be a little easier. I'll just copy, paste, drag this over here, and then now I have two. Those are completely separate, so we shouldn't have a problem with that. That should be pretty doable. So, well, I guess we have a few more moments. Let me go ahead and kind of run through that process really quick, so that way we can have a completely working one. Okay, so for this, I thought it might. Okay. There we go. We've got our all right, get rid of this one. And that one, and make sure it's the right one. All right, just oh yeah, okay. Probably just copy this. So I'm going to my properties just to make these the same size. I'm just going to change the width and the height to the same thing. So just paste it right in there. And there we go. And now we can grab these. Not that one though. Oh, come on, what is happening? Okay. There we go. Line them up horizontally and just move them, or vertically, and just move them horizontally where we need them to be. We could rename those if we felt like it. The thing that you want to make sure of is when you've got these, so I have pizza 1 here and pizza 2 here. And I should probably rename these if I was being a little pickier about it. The main thing with this is you want to make sure that these buttons and these buttons are in 2 different groups. If they're in the same group, then as I said, you'd only be able to choose a size for one pizza or the other. And obviously you want to be able to choose it for both. All right, that's pretty much all I had. Do we have any questions before we wrap it up for today? All right. Well, if you think of anything after the fact, please let me know. Just you can send an email to digital@cals.org and that'll come to me. If you, of course, other than that, I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for joining me.